Hello to all John Wick fans around the world. How are you doing today? I hope you're all healthy and happy. In today's video, we're diving into a film that takes place in the same universe as John Wick. Chapter 3. The movie is titled Ballerina, a gripping tale filled with brutal action, deep emotion, and dark mystery. It follows the journey of Eve Macarro, from an innocent young girl to a deadly assassin within the feared Ruska Roma organization. And yes, in this movie, she will come face to face with John Wick himself. The action in this movie is truly exhilarating and adrenaline pumping. Curious to know more? Let's get right into the story. The story begins with a glimpse into Eve Macarro's childhood, a sweet little girl living happily with her father. Her father only wanted Eve to live a normal life, even gifting her a beautiful glass bottle with a ballerina inside. But that night, their happiness turned into a nightmare. Their house was suddenly attacked by a group of mysterious soldiers, and it's revealed that Eve's father bears the same tattoo as John Wick. Could he be part of the same dark world? The father tries desperately to escape with Eve, but they're cornered. And he's violently beaten by the attackers. As things turn hopeless, a terrifying figure arrives known only as the Counselor, the leader of a secretive cult. He forces the father to make a cruel choice: kill himself or watch Eve be murdered alongside him. Right there, for the very first time, little Eve is forced to kill someone to save her father. They manage to escape the house, and the father sets off explosives to cover their tracks. Though they escape, the father's wounds are too severe. He eventually dies from his injuries. Eve, now alone, stares blankly at the sky from her hospital bed. That's when Winston, the elegant man from the John Wick universe, appears. He knew Eve's father well and decides to take her to her father's family. Eve is brought to a place called Ruska Roma, led by a woman known as the Director, the same refuge John Wick once turned to in Chapter 3. It turns out, Eve's father was a member of this very organization. The Director welcomes Eve as one of their own. Before leaving, Winston gives her a symbolic coin, a sign that if Eve ever needs help, she'll be guided by a mentor named Nogi. With Nogi, Eve learns that everyone here is a Kikimora, killers and protectors. A brutal path, soaked in blood. Months pass. Eve slowly becomes part of Ruska Roma. She undergoes rigorous training to become a true Kikimora. There, she also befriends Tatiana, a gifted ballerina. Eve trains relentlessly. Her movements start to resemble the fighting style of John Wick himself. Nogi coldly says, "To win, you must give everything, even if it means cheating." But one day, Tatiana is expelled from Ruska Roma. According to the Director, Tatiana lacks the true killer's instinct. Losing her friend, Eve is emotionally crushed. Still, life goes on. And now, Eve is given a chance to prove herself. She must face a combat test, building a weapon and eliminating targets on the spot. After completing the trial, night falls. As Eve rests, she sees a legendary figure arrive at Ruska Roma. Yes, John Wick himself? He comes seeking sanctuary from the organization. That night, John is officially released from his membership. Eve, in awe, approaches John Wick. She asks, "How can I become like you?" John calmly replies, "The front door's still open. You still have a choice." Eve monitors from a distance, but suddenly, a group of mysterious mercenaries arrives. They're here to kidnap Katla. With lightning reflexes, Eve springs into action, and for the first time, we see Eve unleash her own brutal fighting style, just like John Wick. The mission is far from easy. Eve struggles against the chaos. She's not yet used to facing multiple attackers at once. But gradually, she adapts. She even goes toe-to-toe with the leader of the mercenaries. In the end, Eve triumphs. She successfully saves Katla Park. As a reward, Eve receives the Ruska Roma tattoo on her back, just like John Wick. Time passes. Eve continues taking on dangerous missions, but just as she completes one, she's suddenly attacked viciously. Eve manages to take down her mysterious assailant, and when she checks the attacker's hand, there's a strange cross-shaped mark, exactly like the ones worn by those who killed her father years ago. Eve brings the severed hand to the director and demands answers. What cult attacked my father? But the director refuses to say. She only responds, "Those marked with the cross follow no rules. They're extremely dangerous." And she forbids Eve from digging any deeper. Eve arrives at the Continental Hotel. There she meets Karen and states that she wants to see the head of the Continental, Winston. Without wasting time, Eve directly asks about the mysterious sect that murdered her father. But Winston's response is the same as the director's. Never get involved with them. Eve doesn't give up. She takes out her promise coin. Reluctantly, Winston finally speaks. He explains that the sect is a group of assassins with no rules whatsoever. No one even knows where their headquarters is. But one thing's for sure, they've managed to infiltrate the Continental before. Winston mentions a name Daniel Pine, a member of the sect who is currently hiding at the Prague branch of the Continental.
Hard copy, please.
Pine has an open contract worth $2 million on his head. To uncover more, Eve must meet Daniel Pine. Cut to the next scene, Eve is now at the Prague Continental. She checks into the room next to Pine's. Cut to the next scene, Eve is now at the Prague Continental. She checks into the room next to Pine's. But, unknown to her, several mysterious figures are already watching her every move. Eve sneaks into Pine's room. There, she finds a young boy, Daniel Pine's son. And finally, Pine himself appears. Eve quickly asks about the sect's whereabouts. Suddenly, a woman named Lena raises the bounty on Daniel Pine to $4 million. Now, every assassin in the hotel is after him. Pine reveals a shocking truth. The members of the sect Eve is hunting are already inside the hotel, and they're targeting his son. A fierce battle breaks out. Pine fights to escape while protecting his child. Amid the chaos, Pine begs Eve to save his son. In return, he promises to reveal the location of the sect's base. Pine's true goal is to get his son out of the sect. Unfortunately, just as they're about to escape, both Pine and Eve are subdued by sect enforcers. It turns out, All of this was orchestrated by the counselor. Later, Lena reveals that a mysterious woman briefly helped Pine escape. But Eve's situation worsens. She's handed over to the Continental enforcers for execution due to violating the rules. However, since Eve didn't kill anyone inside the hotel, she's spared. After escaping, Eve heads to a weapons shop and meets Frank, the shopkeeper. She asks him about the sex members, but Frank claims to know nothing instead. He shows off his collection of guns.
We've got a sidearm and half with a faster, 30 rounds with 308. We've got a trip over these. These will take these.
While choosing weapons, a sudden ambush occurs. A group of sect assassins attacks Eve. An intense action sequence follows. Eve takes them down one by one, even using a grenade. When the dust settles, Frank finally talks. He reveals the location of the sect's base, a hidden settlement in a frozen mountain region. Without delay, Eve heads toward the icy hideout, but even from afar, she's already being watched. Mid-journey, the director calls her with a warning. Don't go further. Don't mess with the sect. But Eve is already committed. There's no turning back now. She enters a restaurant that also sells ballerina bottles. She orders coffee, and one by one, the guests begin to leave. The tension rises. Suddenly, an ambush. Eve swiftly eliminates her attackers, but it's not over. Even the restaurant staff turn out to be part of the sect and join the fight. A series of intense battles erupts. More sect members arrive. The action scenes grow wild and relentless. Eve finally escapes the restaurant, but when the counselor learns she's still alive, he activates an emergency protocol. Shocking twist. Every resident in that hidden village is a member of the sect, and now, they all receive orders to hunt down Eve. Tragically, Eve is captured by Lena. That's when Lena discovers Eve is part of Ruska Roma. Meanwhile, the counselor is seen spending time with Pine's child, but the child shows no warmth. It's revealed that the boy is actually the counselor's grandson. Lena informs the counselor that Eve is from Ruska Roma. Eve is captured and finally brought before the counselor. The counselor declares that since Eve attacked the sect, a war is now inevitable between the sect and Ruska Roma. This declaration shatters an ancient peace agreement that had existed between the two groups, now broken because of Eve. Eve argues that her actions are personal, not representative of Ruska Roma. Then comes the biggest revelation. Eve is the counselor's granddaughter. Her father was the counselor's son-in-law. After Eve's mother died, her father tried to take Eve away from the sect. Feeling betrayed, the counselor ordered his execution, which explains the tragic events at the beginning of the film. And Lena? She's also the daughter of Eve's father, which means Eve and Lena are sisters. Eve eventually escapes the sect's stronghold. But now, Lena, her own sister, is sent to hunt her down. After all the chaos, Eve and Lena finally have a moment to talk. In an emotional conversation, Lena reveals a painful truth: she is Eve's biological sister. When their father escaped the sect, he only took Eve and left Lena behind. Eve is shocked. She never imagined that Lena had been part of her family all along. But outside, the counselor's forces have surrounded them. Without mercy, the counselor gives the order, eliminate them both. A massive explosion erupts, and Lena is killed in front of Eve. In her final breath, Lena softly whispers, "All this time I missed you so much." Enraged, Eve grabs a katana sword and slaughters the invading soldiers. No longer holding back, Eve shouts toward the counselor, "I'm coming for you, Keanu." Panicking, the counselor immediately contacts the director. He threatens, if Eve isn't dealt with tonight, a war will break out. The director makes a decision. He will send someone to eliminate Eve before midnight to prevent all-out war. That person is someone very familiar, John Wick. The counselor then issues an order to all sect members. Do not engage Eve before midnight. They must give John Wick the chance to finish this. In a snow-covered ruined building, John Wick finally appears. Eve and John stand face to face. Before the fight begins, John offers her a choice. You can walk away now, or we fight. But Eve has made up her mind. She won't stop, not until her revenge is complete. And so, the epic battle begins. In truth, John doesn't want to kill Eve. He even urges her to run. But Eve refuses. She must settle her score with the counselor. Finally, John gives her a warning. Finish this before midnight. If you don't, I'll be coming for you. But once the counselor learns that John let Eve go, he's furious. He reactivates the emergency protocol. All sect members are ordered to hunt Eve down again. Another round of brutal combat begins. This time, Eve sets claymore mines to trap the incoming soldiers. Explosions rock the battlefield. She also discovers a powerful and deadly weapon. Meanwhile, the counselor's troops advance toward the armory where Eve is hiding. Some try sneaking in through underground tunnels, only to be roasted alive. Yes, Eve uses a flamethrower to burn them down. But a formidable enemy arrives, Panjul, who also wields a flamethrower. An all-out fire battle erupts. Eve tries to escape the armory, but outside, more sect soldiers await her. One of the counselor's men urges him to retreat, but the counselor arrogantly replies, "There is no history of me ever running from a fight." Unfortunately, Eve's flamethrower runs out of fuel. Just then, Panjul charges in and attacks. Eve quickly grabs a fire hose, and a unique battle begins. Water versus fire. Eve is nearly defeated, but luckily, John Wick returns. He fires a perfect shot, hitting Panjul's flamethrower. Since it's not yet midnight, John is still allowed to help her. But now, sect soldiers turn on John too for siding with Eve. Meanwhile, Eve finally catches up to the counselor, who is trying to escape in secret. There, the counselor begins to preach. No one can change reality. Even if I die, the sect will live on. But Eve doesn't care. She checks the time. Midnight. Without a word, she finishes the counselor.
The person you're fighting is your...
After the long war, Eve takes Pine's child away from that cursed place. Elsewhere, John Wick calls the director to report that the counselor is dead. The child is finally reunited with his father, Daniel Pine, who turns out to have survived. Eve then walks into the Continental and books a room. Winston gives her a warning. After this, many will come after you. And he's right. Not long after, a new contract is issued for Eve. The bounty? $1 million. But for now, Eve still has time. She attends a ballet performance starring her friend Tatiana, and with that, the film ends.